He is the driving force behind the Love More movement with a passion for healing and mental liberation. Dr. Purnell, I thought you were going to cite me one time. Okay. Is here to share powerful insights into mental health and how love and connection can transform our lives. Let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Bruce Purnell.
All right, everybody say love more. Say love more. All right. Changing the narrative. Well, why that's so important, right? Even starting out by saying love more instead of hello. Sometimes we don't even know like what we're saying. You know, we greet people with hell and low. We know hell's low, but is that how we want to be greeted? Hello, right? So isn't love more? Isn't it doesn't take any more to say love more? Isn't that something important to say? Let's greet with love more. I've been told my entire life that misery loves company. I didn't think about it till later on. I was like, Dad, what about joy? Isn't joy a better friend? Why misery? Why doesn't joy love company? And I kind of started a study, right? And I'm gonna give you about 10 years in 15 minutes, actually. But I asked, like, so I wanted to know, like, how we looking at things, right? And understand this traumatic narrative is real. Uh, Being black in America and understanding the history of what happened, right? So, Middle Passage, no healing. 400 years chattel slavery, no healing. Post Reconstruction, Jim Crow, no healing. Assassination of our leaders, no healing. War on drugs, no healing. New Jim Crow, no healing. Prison industrial complex, no healing. So the idea of this traumatic narrative becomes real, and all we really know is responding to trauma. So even when we talk about thriving and we talk about healing, there's no language for it. We don't have a language for healing, we got a language for trauma. And when we're not experiencing it, we're watching it and listening to it. Like, so it's our bodies. And we talk about affirmations, and we learn through affirmations that what we think can become real. We manifest what we think. Our thoughts are prayers, right? Our thoughts are prayers, and we manifest in what we think. So if we think in trauma all the time, could we very well be manifesting what we say we don't want? Just by what we're thinking. And that's what this is about, right? So I went around the country and I was asking people like different questions, right? And the first one was, would you kill a caterpillar if it was called a future butterfly, right? Would you kill a caterpillar if it was called a future butterfly? 90+% people said no. But when it's a furry pest eating my flowers, yes, right? So I'm like, wow, if our children were future butterflies, if we perceive them to be future butterflies, wouldn't they be safe? Right? Wouldn't we be excited about what they are to become? Yeah, you know, it's like thriving is so much different than avoiding trauma. And that's why like I had to push us past this traumatic narrative, because it's important to be trauma informed, right? I'm informed that something happened, that my response to life is coming through pain, right? But what do I do with that? When does it go? Does it ever go to joy? In mental health, and I'm a psychologist, and it's hard because there's really no language for well-being. Like, we deal with mental health issues without ever defining mental health, right? If we don't know what mental health is, how we know what mental health issues are? How are we so up on those, right? Do we ever get to well-being? Do we ever get to thriving? And we've been through a lot, no shade on survival, but ain't it time that we thrive? Should life be about avoiding the next trauma? Is that what life is? My life energy is here on this planet to avoid trauma? It can't be, right? So this is about shifting it, right? Shifting the framework. Becoming human treasure hunters. What if, like a pirate that knows his treasure, I knew that about myself and you? I knew that it was treasure there, right? Sometimes I got to turn over some rocks. Sometimes I got to dig a little bit. Sometimes I got to go a little further. But if I know it's treasure there, I'm going to find the treasure, right? Starting with ourselves first. First, know that you don't have to be an extra in your own life movie because you're a star. right? You don't have to be an extra in your own life movie because you're a star. How do I know you're a star? Because you have 72 trillion cells inside of your body. That's what makes up you. 72 trillion cells. 250 million cells fertilize one egg, which makes every birth a miracle, no matter how it happened. You're a miracle. So we start from that premise. Damn, I'm a miracle. Like, so what's my life energy here to do on this planet? Know also that you're great at something. You're great at something. That was one of the questions. We asked on the test, like, what are you great at? We asked 5th graders, 9th graders, 12th graders, as adults. Very few people know what they're great at. So we can go through school, our entire school system of 12 years and not know what we're great at, right? So in switching it, right, to a healing narrative, what words do we use? Are they different words? In being a future butterfly, is that different than words for caterpillar? And special note, if you're want butterfly solutions and you want to know about flying, don't talk to caterpillars about it. Caterpillars can't tell you about flying, right? Just a note. So this ongoing study that we have going, and one is just, like I always say, love wins. I truly believe that love wins, truly. Love wins. That's what gets me through. That's what keeps me sane. I know that love wins, right? So this stuff, all these things going on, I don't even care. It's not going to win. It can't. It can't, right? Because love wins. When the sun comes up, night goes away. Dark can't and light can't last at the same space at the same time. And when the light comes on, it's not dark anymore. That's just also in the physical world and the universal world, it just works like that. When you show up with light energy, that light and love energy, the dark energy has to go away. It can't stay, right? So knowing those things changes the language. Do we have a language for that? When I talk to young brothers about forgiveness, it's hard for them because as a young black man, I was taught that forgiveness was weak, right? It was weak to forgive, right? And I was also taught that I better fight the bully. I better not come home through the doors and not fight the bully. No matter what it is, you gotta go through fighting the bully, right? All the different pieces that I learned automatically, but then later on you tell me that I should make an adjustment and reconcile. Right? I was taught to fight the bully, but now the bully has a gun. What does that mean for my young people? Right? It's some things that we really have to get, right? We can't have violence, interruption, or intervention without forgiveness. We got to learn how to forgive ourselves first, and then we can forgive others, right? We got to forgive ourselves too. That's why I said you're a miracle. When you know you're a miracle, however you navigated past trauma, you did what you had to do and you're here today. The fact that you're here today talking about like transformation is a miracle. It's a miracle you're here today. So I'm about 7,600 people, right? Hey, we asked a question like, love wins. Does love hurt? You know, so many more people say love hurts. Love hurts, yeah, love hurts. Is it love that hurts? Or is it what we do, what people do to it, right? And few people said love wins. The idea of killing a caterpillar, which is big. We do a group with in DC jail with young brothers and sisters. But one of the major things about the nickname, brother said that the nickname changed their life. When they got a nickname, they lived up to the nickname, whatever the nickname was. And most time in the hood, nicknames, they're not good. It's not so surprising that Lil OZ grew up selling ounces later on. It's not that hard to believe, like, right? So the nickname itself, it's a power in the name. Our naming ceremonies that go back to our motherland, the community saw your attributes and your greatness, and they named you based on that and held you up to the sky and said, yeah, this is who you're going to be, right? It may very well be that we don't have a purpose for our youth, and that's the problem. It may be that we gave our youth up to the system and said, oh, they'll figure out a purpose for our youth, and now we don't understand why they don't have anything to do. Why don't we know what we're great at? Maybe somebody else figured out our purpose. Maybe at some point we got rerouted and started going for money, like money became the new motivation. It wasn't liberation anymore. Maybe. Some reason we don't know who we are today. Some reason. Marcus Garvey said it too. Marcus Garvey said if we knew who we were, we'll be completely different. Like if we knew who we were. Harriet Tubman said the same thing. Man, it's not a leader that hasn't said if we knew who we were, it would change everything. Why is it that we don't know who we are? Why is that? How many labels do y'all have? Like if we had a list right now, you put down all the labels that you have, how many would you put down? How many labels do we have? Do you know that every label that we have takes us that much further away from everybody else? Right? Different things to think about as we go through the questions on the survey. Some major points. 12% believe joy loves company, while 95% believe misery does. Over 75% of adults and 90% of youth say that they do not know what their gifts, right? I don't know what I'm great at. I don't know what my gifts are. I'm just trying to survive, Doc. I just need a job, Doc. You know how many times I hear that? I just need a job, Doc. I don't even care what I do. I just need a job. Dang, what you great at? What you want to do? I don't care. I don't know. Right? 70% of adults and 80% of youth do not believe that they're beautiful as they are. That was huge because we know we're supposed to say, yeah, we believe we're beautiful. But what do we see when we look in the mirror before the makeup? What do we say? How do we feel about that for real? How do we feel about what's looking back at us? Like, what do we see? One of the major identity theories is with Cooley, it was looking glass self, and they still use it today, like in psychology, sociology, or human services, right? So it says, it's not how I see me, not how you see me, it's how I believe you see me, right? So my perception of how I think I'm being seen is going to impact the way that I live and the way I see myself. So we better make sure whoever our looking glass self is, it loves us. Because if we're seeing ourselves through the eyes of someone who doesn't love us, what are we going to perceive about ourselves? Right? If we don't know that there's nothing more beautiful than you, the way you are, there's nothing more creative than you, the way you are, right? If we don't know that, then we're going downhill from there. Why? Because you got to buy your way back. That's the whole piece, right? Being socialized to be a consumer, you're going to be but all your flaws, and you got to buy your way back to even homeostasis. You got to buy your way there, right? You buy your way to love. But what if you knew you were beautiful today? How would that change everything, right? If you knew there's nothing more creative and smart and beautiful than you just the way you are, how would that change everything? How would it change the conversation? How about the words that we use to talk to each other? How would it change that if we knew that about each other? Love is a different language. Babies know it. Babies know love, they can feel it, right? Don't y'all know when somebody loves you by the way they talk to you, the vibration in their voice? If somebody touches you that loves you, isn't it different? Can't you feel the difference? Even if you eat something that somebody was cooking, if they cook with love, can't you tell the difference? Right? We know what love is. So when we deviate from it, we know that also. And if trauma becomes the norm, we're no longer going to expect joy. Some of us don't even know we're supposed to be in a state of joy. Like, what is this whole thing? Well, we just want to avoid the trauma, right? We're avoiding the trauma. We know our triggers are trauma. What about our triggers of joy? Do you ever reflect on the best moments of your life? Times you laughed the most, times you felt the most loved? Isn't that what's going to bring you out of depression? If you start to feel like a little down, like, I don't know. And I get it from young people so much, like even post-pandemic, the conversation with young people has been kind of like, hey, Doc, I really don't want to be here. Truthfully, I don't like this thing you're calling life. I don't want to kill myself because I don't want to hurt people that love me or whatever, but I really don't want to be here. What's the point? Everybody's miserable, right? That's why joy is so important. This legacy of trauma ain't working no more. We don't have the capacity, our young people don't have the capacity to take on another generation of trauma in their genes. Like, we got to make a switch, right? So in making a switch, we got to change the language in the words. It comes from the words first. It comes from the words, then how we feel. But understand that you're beautiful and knowing that. Like, now, if you really think I believe you're beautiful, we're not supposed to look the same. We're not supposed to look the same, like, right? So just know that, the way you look right now is probably the way you're supposed to look, and it's beautiful. I remember when reading Revolutionary Suicide by Huey Newton early on, and when they said that, first I thought the afro was revolutionary when in the 70s when there were afros. Come to find out, it was supposed to be the natural. And it was supposed to be, have it naturally, your hair grew was supposed to be the beautiful thing. It was never about an afro. They commercialized that piece, right? So the natural you, right? And get to know yourself. Get to know you. Start to love you. Get to know you, start to love you. All right. 85 to 90% participants any trauma and pain shaped their worldview more than love. Overwhelmingly, I was told that trauma shapes who I am and how I see the world more than love does, right? So what does that mean, y'all? What does it mean that trauma shapes the way I see the world? Trauma shapes the way I see myself, right? It's based on trauma. It's not based on love. What does that mean? And it's for you to think about, right? If you leave here and say, hey, let me think about this differently, and if I change the way I think about myself, I change the words that I use to talk to myself. Talk to yourself with love too. Don't be so hard on yourself, right? I hear it all the time. We so hard on ourselves, like, right? Speak to yourself with love like somebody you love. And then change that language for everybody else. Know that your thoughts are prayers. We always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Love more is what we're saying. Our energy is a vibration, a frequency to heal the nation, and know that God is always here, and every thought becomes a prayer. Every thought. Every thought. So I'm going to go to questions. I'm going to leave y'all with the leader's affirmation and to take with you. And it's affirmation for leaders. L, love like you've never been hated. E, express yourself like you've never been judged. A, affirm your desires until they become self-fulfilling prophecies. D, dream like you never had a nightmare. E, energize your life like your spirit had magical solar panels. R, reflect light like the sun's your mirror. And S, smile so hard as you blind the haters. All right? All right.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Love you open for questions. Anybody?
We have, how much time is left, Nikki? Yeah, we can only take one question. Does anyone have a question? If not, they can come by your table. Can you repeat the acronym someone said? That'll be the one question. Repeat the acronym for love.
Okay. Yeah. Leaders. Leaders. Love like you've never been hated. Express yourself like you've never been judged. Affirm your desire until they become self-fulfilling prophecies. Dream like you never had a nightmare. Energize your life like your spirit had a magical solar panel. Reflect light like the sun's your mirror and smile so hard that you blind the haters. All right. Come on, joy.
Let's give a round of applause to Dr. Bruce Purnell. And make sure you visit his table.